It is 2025, and I am 37 years old. My entire life, I have been trying to make a career and find some kind of life balance with my creative endeavors and my adult responsibilities. And it's always been a bit of a struggle for me to find a balance between those two things. I've always been very self-conscious about myself and a little protective of my creative sensibilities, my storytelling, the things that I want to do when it comes to creative pursuits. I like to write music. Predominantly, I am a singer, but I also paint. I also write. And while I'm not gonna make any bones about it and say that I am the most talented artist or writer out there, it is something that I've always valued in myself. My desire and love and passion for creative storytelling and the visual arts, the pursuit of those things, it's not any more noble or worthy of validation than any other pursuit in life. It's just the one that resonates with me the most. And I've always been really self-conscious and scared to let that be known. Some people might not believe me when I say that because I have this kind of outgoing personality and a sense of going after your dreams that I've been touting pretty much since I was in high school, but it's there. Everything that I've done to this point has been kind of a pursuit of something that I thought I wanted. And I'm not doing that anymore. I want to be more true to myself. And so with that comes this. The last year and a half, I've finally started doing something that I've wanted to do since I was a child, but I was too scared to really let it be known that it was something that I wanted to do, and that is acting. Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be that person on stage or that person in front of the camera, not behind the camera, where I have actually done some work and work that I am proud of. And there's nothing wrong with being behind the camera, but when the story calls to you to be in front of the camera and be actively participating in that, that's a strong pull. And it's a very vulnerable thing to say because it comes with a lot of reactions from other people. Other people's preconceived notions about what it means to be an actor start to get projected on you, and before you know it, you are projecting them on yourself. And that passion and drive and desire can be snuffed out really, really fast if you're not careful. And so coming out of COVID lockdowns and the changes that happened in the world and some things that happened in my personal life, I was not going to let that happen anymore. And I wanted to be truer to the person that I always wanted to be since I was a little kid. And I decided to start acting. Now, that's not to say that I went out and now I'm starring in a blockbuster movie or anything like that, but I took the little steps. I auditioned for some community theater. And in the process, I went in thinking this might be the only time I do this, but I wanted to at least give it a try and to say that I did it, and who knows if I'd ever do it again. That was the initial thought process behind going out and doing some theater. And what happened was this amazing transformation. That's the only way I can describe it at this point, is a transformation. Because I went from someone who was like hoping that I would feel like I belonged to realizing that this might be the place where I should have been my entire life. It was a beautiful thing. I got to work with an amazing group of people on a really incredibly special show to me. It was Once on This Island. I got to play Agwe, and it was an incredible experience. It was difficult. It was scary. I was very self-conscious about a lot of things, putting on costumes, standing in front of people, singing songs that I never thought I would be singing and styles that I never thought I would be singing, and dancing on stage under lights in said costumes and stuff. It was all things that was very foreign to me. I had, to that point, only ever sung on stage in a quote-unquote band or like a pop music type setting. I did hip-hop and like country rock, like cover band type things in high school and in college. I went to college to study music production in a studio, recording studios, where it's very intimate. There's a handful of people in that room. And while that is definitely a very vulnerable place to be as an artist and a musician, it's not the same as standing in front of a house full of about 300 people staring at you, trying to connect with them on like an emotional level. Like, it's a very different thing. And so I fell in love with that feeling, though, because what I found was when you have the right group of people together, all of that goes away. And you connect with your fellow performers in a way that I've never connected with performers ever in my life before. And then we opened the show, and those fears crept in again about judgment and all of those things, and almost instantaneously they went away. I tell the story of the very first show that I did, opening night of Once on This Island. This was back in June, I believe it was, of 2023. And opening night, I'm nervous, I'm tense, and we go out to do like the opening number, the beginning of the show, and there's like an ensemble number. There's a moment where we're dancing in a circle around like some of the main, like the core principal characters are in the center, and we're in a circle, like this big community thing. And I looked down into the front row, and right smack in the center of the front row were some really dear friends of mine, John and Stephanie. And for a brief moment, that nervousness of like, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, like this is happening. This is, those are all those things that are going through my head. I connected eyes with John specifically. I noticed both of them, but John specifically. And John smiled at me. And in that moment, I realized that the person that I wanted to be and was meeting with the person that I was becoming. And it was all magical and wild and all that. Like, so I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, because it was really an incredible little moment. And then I did the one thing that you're not supposed to do as an actor, which is I didn't wave, but I kind of like gave the little head nod, like acknowledgement to him, like just moment. And this all happened in like an instant. But I looked down at him and I went, oh, hey, like all of that went through my head, and I felt comfortable. And it was just me looking at my friend. And so I said, hey. And as I said, hey, like, I realized I still had to keep dancing. And I was like, oh crap. And I kept going, and we finished the number and stuff. But for the rest of the night, like the show went off without a hitch the way we had been rehearsing, and it was beautiful. And so like that moment was the very first moment where I was like, oh, the person that I was scared to be in show for all these years can coexist with that person that I was. And that was a side of me that I never had to like put in a box and hide from anyone. And I went from doing a show and thinking that maybe this will be the only show that I ever do, to now pretty much actively pursuing it as, like a full-time career path. I've done 5 shows in a little over a year, have more projects lined up. And, I'll, in later episodes and later on down the line, I'll share more about projects that are upcoming and things like that. But, I've hit the ground running and haven't looked back, and it's been difficult. It's been difficult on me, my psyche, my body, my stress levels and stuff. It's been a growing process as a storyteller and as an actor and as a writer and a singer and all that. It's also been a little bit difficult with my personal life, like some of my relationships, my wife, I am married, and it is a lot of time away from home. And so like there's those kinds of struggles, and maybe I'll talk about that at some point too, but for now, this is the first episode, and bringing this to a close, what this is, after telling that story, that whole thing about this, what this series, podcast, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, is my affirmation that I am allowed to pursue the things that inspire me, and that you are too. The listener, the viewer, whoever, however you're interacting with this, you are allowed to pursue the things that you want to pursue. Because ultimately, that's what it's all about. I've done multiple versions of this first episode of this series, trying to come up with some catchy, intro and a phrase and a format and stuff. And what it all boils down to for me, I think, is just to be sitting here in front of this camera and to just talk about it. Talk about what it means to be a quote unquote actor. And for me, there's no cost of entry, award, threshold that you have to, break through in order to call yourself an actor. And this goes for anything: a musician, a writer, a painter. Doesn't even have to be creative. I truly believe, any dream that you have, any desire that you have to do something, if you're scared of calling yourself that, as long as you're engaging with the process of doing it, that's you. You are a painter. You are an artist. You are an actor. That's what it means to me. And I don't ever want to forget that. And so that's what this is. It's an affirmation. It's a reminder to myself that this is what it means to be an actor. Not to be constantly booking, not to constantly have a new project coming out, not to have so many followers on social media, or big fancy agents, or inking ridiculously large contracts worth thousands and thousands of dollars. And all of that stuff can come later on and can be part of it, but what it truly means to be an actor is to authentically engage with the process of storytelling and to bring those stories to life through my performance. And that's what I always want to remind myself, because that is what I fell in love with acting in the first place. I fell in love with about acting in the first place. You know what I mean? That's what it means. And so that's what this is. It's a reminder to never forget that. So if that's something that interests you, I'll be going into more details about my process. I won't ever talk about active shows while I'm in them. If you think this is the kind of place where I'm going to start airing dirty laundry about people, that's not what this is. Newsflash, I don't really have dirty laundry with people. Like, people are beautiful and amazing and messy, and relationships build and interactions happen. And that's what's beautiful about our world. I try not to hold that against anyone, even if we do have some kind of conflict. I'm not going to air things like that out on this kind of thing. If you're looking for like behind the scenes drama of what happened during this show or that show or whatever, that's not what this is. I will talk about my friends and the people that I encounter and see doing amazing work, though. That for sure I will definitely be talking about, because I love not only doing my thing, but supporting other people doing their thing. And so when there's people with really cool projects coming up, I'll do my best to try to share those as well, because I want as many people to fall in love with these creative people the way that I have fallen in love with these creative people. So that's probably going to be it for this first episode. I'm going to go ahead and sign off with my affirmation. My name is Brian Sanchez, and I'm an actor.